Today, today, today we're going to be doing a speech. All right. Hey guys, I'm Ryan, and I've been hacking things my whole life. Today we're going to be creating a Star Wars backlit LED. I don't know if it's LED backlit sign using this inexpensive Glowforge thermoform thing that I got from the Halloween store for $10 today on the Hack Lab. I bet you can't wait to see this one. Okay guys, I'm going to take this lamp and I'm going to take it apart, and it's just an old lamp that you can buy like at Bed Bath & Beyond or something like that. Be careful with the electricity if you don't know what you're doing. This is simply a transformer that hooks into a power supply. I'm just going to cut it all off. I have a couple tools around here. I have a little pair of pliers, and I have a screwdriver and a hammer in case I need to whack things, but I'm just going to start taking it all apart. I'm breaking the wires apart. I don't really care about the switch because this is going to be part of when you turn on all of the lights on my wall. They're all going to come on, so I really don't need a switch. So you can use the switch if you want, but I'm not using the switch. So you know, part of hacking is you got to move pretty quick. This has got this really cool cement thing inside of it to give it weight. It almost is cooler than the metal, the cement weight to hold the lamp down. I can't believe they make these lamps for this cheap. So I'm taking off from all of these LEDs right here. I'm taking out the Phillips screwdriver, the screws, because I'm going to need to measure this hole to put the dimensions in, and Illustrator to cut it out. So I need you to be really careful, or be careful in the future when you're dealing with LEDs. They're a little bit more proficient when they have really, if it's cool. Some of them, sometimes LEDs have heat sinks. Sometimes they don't. If you want to know what the advantage of using a heat sink, that's something that absorbs heat. You know, heat's got, when you produce light, there's heat. It's got to go somewhere. It's either going to be in the air, but the question is, what does that do to the actual light? Does it make the light more efficient if you have a heat sink? A heat sink is very similar to kind of like a concrete brick. It cools off it. You know, if you had something hot next to a concrete brick, that brick would hold some of the heat. The ceramic maybe would even be better. A lot of light bulbs used to be made out of ceramic, the base, to control that heat. You know, if you've ever felt ceramic plate, you notice that they get cold really quickly. Ceramics are used, like that hard stone is used for heat sinks. So here's the LED, tons of LEDs in that light, relatively inexpensive. And notice that in the back of this, there is vent holes. We'll put those in the design. So here we have a relatively inexpensive LED sign that will not be touching any of the wood. I'm going to be using these holes in the design for that, and I'll be using some heat shrink film to cover up all the wires and make sure everything's clean. So, all right, so that it wraps up the demolition of the lamp to hack the parts for the back of the light. The back of the light will go right here inside of this stormtrooper to light this up. Okay, now the next thing we need to do is we have to get all of this artwork inside of the computer right here, this shape of the outside of the helmet. The fastest way to do that is to take a picture of the helmet going straight up and down. So I'm going to kind of position the helmet so that it's up. Computer, I'm going to airdrop it, however you can get it over your computer, because we're going to trace out the outlines to cut that out on the Glowforge and make the helmet. The next thing I need to do is to know the dimensions of from the top to the bottom, and from this side to this side, the length and the width, and then I'm going to use those inside of Illustrator. So from the top to the bottom, from right to center is 12, and I want to stretch it. I go 1 inch higher is 12 and a half. I think that's all that I need to do. 12 and 5/8. 12 and 5/8. I'll take one more dimension. From the bottom of this little black thing to here, it's 11 and a quarter. 12 and 5/8 and 11 and a quarter. The thing I want to do is to darken the image if necessary, but if I can see the line, I want to turn on a red stroke and I want to draw over that line. So one option is to go ahead and to trace the image and then clean up the vector work. But sometimes it's just easier to draw half of it and then to mirror it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to draw over the line and then mirror it. It's just a little bit easier than tracing it, the cleanup work afterwards. And once that's done, I'll get an SVG and I can send that over to the Glowforge app and then laser cut this from some 1/4 inch material. Now I needed to add in the light diameter and the hole configuration, so I measured those from the LED and this hole placement here, and so then I can run that in. And remember, I'm not going to be using a switch because I'm going to be using this up when I flip on the lights. If you wanted to add a switch in, you could add that in the back or on the bottom of the Stormtrooper helmet. The next thing I want to do is I want to be able to go over. The next thing I want to do is go over to the Glowforge and to cut out the back shape. All right, we got that cut out on the machine there. So just to kind of recap, what happened is that the entire shape was greater than what the Glowforge could cut out, which means this dimension really wasn't feasible with the printing area, so I trimmed it off as I showed you in the Illustrator file, and now it fits quite nicely inside of here. Another thing that I did is I went back and added a little hole for the to hang it. One of the benefits of the Glowforge is the camera that's on board. There are snapping utilities that you can use that are in the current release of the software that enable you to snap an object, because the camera isn't always completely accurate. It's not accurate, because the camera shifts and stuff like that. You'll notice after you're using it a little bit, but it's really nice to get an idea of what is available to cut on. So my trick was, in order to get this hole lined up with the exact center, is that I took the same exact SVG shape and I made it a different color stroke. So I ignored that line that came out, but I used that line, that blue line, to snap it to the other line to align it, and then I had the hole be the black, which would enable a cut to happen. So it just added the cut. This is really thick material. I think this is like 3/8 inch plywood. So I had to run 4 passes to get it through, but it was successful. And then I have the holes for the quick ties that are going to run it down. So I think I'm ready to put in the light and then go ahead and quick tie it and just plug it in and wrap it up. All right, so I'm going to have to get my wire cutters and some heat shrink. I have my glue gun over here all fired up in order to glue this in. I'm going to do that very sparingly. And after that, I'm just going to throw away and recycle all this metal into, maybe I'll make some really cool robots or something out of it. But now what we're going to do is put the light inside of this here. I'm going to get a little bit of a close-up here. So this is the back. This is the light that I hacked out of that lamp. And that goes right there, and you can see what it's going to be like for the inside. Okay, I think I'm going to probably paint this coat of white here really quickly, but I think I don't need to do that for right now. So this is pretty much it. So let me go get some screws, because I actually pre-put the holes in. Actually, I'm going to use the screws that came with the material. Came with the lamp. I hacked out of the material. So the lamp had 2 screws that came with it. I'm just reusing. They're not even wood screws, but it enables me not to have to walk over to my wood bin and get those. So all in all, this has been a pretty fun project. The biggest limitation was the fact that the 2 things that went on were the fact that it didn't fit. So I went ahead and cut off the ears of the Stormtrooper, which is just quite fine. But that's one of the things that maybe the Glowforge Pro would let you do, that pass through and then finish this up. So it actually has software that will enable you to pass through a larger object. So this is a case where the Glowforge Pro would really have helped out with this. You know, I still like using a regular screwdriver, even though I could have electric. All right, so there's the LEDs. Now I'm going to quick tie. I pre-drilled some holes for. All right, so now let me get them, move the camera. Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, so now I'll get my wire snippers. I've got my wire snippers I bought from Harbor Freight for $3, and these little things I bought for 12. I couldn't find these at Harbor Freight, so these are little snips. You got to have a little pair of snips. So now I'm going to snip off the edge of the plug-in for the transformer. Again, this transformer is 9 volt. Nope. 10.5, but it doesn't matter. You got to use what came with your lamp. I'd hate for you to burn down your house. Everyone accepts full liability of their own doing here. Okay, so these wires, I'm going to pull these wires. These wires are too long. I'm going to pull a little bit through. So I'm going to cut these wires off here. So I snipped. I guess I could snip them with that other tool, but this thing is amazing. This thing, for $3 at Harbor Freight, this little wire snipper is unbelievable. I know I have a little link below. Just go to Harbor Freight to the wire section. Go to harborfreight.com. I get no kickback on that whatsoever. Okay, so now I got to connect these 2 up, but since it's low voltage, I'm going to go ahead and do a test to find out which one is effective. I have two more little wire snips, heat sinks, and I mean heat shrinks that are going to go over this black part, and this will save me the effort of soldering this. I love it. I can go back and reinforce it, but okay. So now I have these two heat shrinks here. Now I'm going to plug this in. Now I'm going to touch this against, well, low voltage again. You look at your local regulations and do this on your own, at your own risk. Actually, don't even do this. Is it lighting up? There we go. So we have the blue, the black, the red goes on the one with the white line. So I'm going to connect that up. And the blue goes on the one with that's the ground. Bend those over. Slide over the heat shrink. Right there, so that's nice and tight. And now I'm going to slide over the big heat shrink over both of those. Actually, I'm just going to put it inside and then pull the wire through. Okay, that's good. Right there. Yeah, that's my front. That's the front, and that is back. Okay, so now my whoa! I love this movie too. So what I'm doing is I'm heat shrinking the wires. So one problem, the light is no longer working. So I'm going to check it while I still have the capabilities of checking it. So I'm not sure what the hell happened. Oh man. So something happened here. This came down or something. So the white goes to the red. This one goes to the red. So doing 2 layers of heat shrink was too aggressive. Now the light is working because the connection's right. So and soldering does make a difference. Okay, there it is all lit up. Now I'm going to put this down, and we're going to put this here. Take off some of the clips here. These, I don't know what these clips were from. I think they were the tag from the store. So I'm going to take those off, alright? And I'm going to take off this little string. Now I'm going to place this in. Now, if I had this to do again, I would put this, if you're interested in making this, I'll put the SVG link below. But I would probably add this and make some more quick tie hooks. So I just quick tie to the action. So that's what the back's going to look like there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do some quick hot glue. I need some more hot glue sticks. Hot glue. I'm not a big fan of making things so permanent that you can't go back and fix them. So I'm just going to put like almost like a clock. I'm going to put it at 12 o'clock. These be 12 o'clock, 1:30. Wherever it's touching now. Yeah, basically the hours of clock at 12 hours. I'm putting the hot melt. It seems to be going. Maybe I'll put one here at 12:30 and here at so that's what's looking like so far. And now I'm going to start cleaning up the electrical and do the quick ties. I have this little trick with hot melt. What I'll do is I'll put a little hot melt right by the wires. That keeps it there. I'll take something cold like this hammer here, and I'll press it down in the hot melt. It immediately cools the hot melt, and it creates this really cool bond that's not subjected to electricity, so you can use this on a board. I'm funny, that's flipped over, and it's not working. And cooling and pressing at the same time. Oops. That didn't work as well. Well, we're almost done. Oh, this is not working. There we go. Yep, all right. That's good. And we have this light. It's not going to be bright, but I can always upgrade it now. They have the there it is, held up. Well, it's certainly not as bright as I thought it was going to be. So I'm going to have to upgrade the light. But now that I got it cut, I'm going to do that in another video. I'm also going to take off this label that was there inside. That looks a little ridiculous. Thanks for watching, guys. Whatever you do, make something that connects you with other people, even if it's a complete fail. I'm going to upgrade this LED lighting, and it's going to look great on my wall. I'll show you that next video.